If you've ever been too embarrassed to say that your relationship is in a should I stay or go situation, or you're finding yourself really anxious, attached, constantly attracting the same type of partner, no matter who they are, it's the same story. You can even get a divorce. The next person that you're with, holy shit, it's the same thing. And you're the type of person sick and tired of rehashing their story at a therapist's office and playing the victim role. And they, even though they can acknowledge they've been hurt, they're just tired of blaming the other person for all their woes because it's not getting them anywhere. And quite frankly, you're tired of telling your story of suffering, and you actually wanting to do something about it is to create a different outcome. Good afternoon, good evening. What is up? It's time for another trigger-proof transmission. It's been a while, but the conversations that I've been having in my Cyclebreakers Academy with the clients that I've been working with have really inspired this transmission. Oftentimes, I don't schedule these podcast episodes. They just come through from a moment of inspiration. And then I get the feedback from the people that I'm working with, and I just feel inspired to share it because it seems like people are not getting this information, or they're getting a lot of misinformation in the realm of relationships. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm going to invite you to subscribe, follow, like, make a comment, and tell me, because I read all of them. Even the hate stuff. I'm just curious what lands for you here, because we're talking about secure relationships. And the reason why the algorithms found you and we're connected in some way is because you are interested in creating, if you're not there yet, to move towards relationships that are more secure. And I love speaking about that because as a retired chiropractor, observing why people are getting sick, why they're ending up in my clinic, I realized that their attachment wounds were at cause. In other words, people coming in with stress-related issues were dealing with actual long-standing trauma stuck in their body that wasn't resolved. And we know what happens to trauma, which is energy from kind of something that happened too much, too soon, not enough for a prolonged period of time, or extreme amount of tension, energy. It's not really what's happening to us. Trauma is not really what's happening to us, but what happens inside of us without having an empathetic witness process it and move it through. So that energy gets stuck in our system at different places in our body, and that stuck trauma turns into inflammation. This is the link between my work as a chiropractor and healing attachment trauma. I was getting tired of seeing patients that were coming in at the net as a result of long-standing inflammation in their system. Many I could help just with adjustments, but the few that I couldn't, and I knew there was something deeper, I had to figure it out. And I was blessed with my last relationship being a trauma-bonded relationship where there was so much volatility. We were abusing one another, and it became abusive. I became physical. It was a wake-up call that had me understanding trauma bonds, healing my attachment trauma, and then I had an epiphany, and I decided that I really want to help people with the upstream root cause of most of their relationship issues. Most of their health issues, which are trauma-based, and most trauma-based is relational. If you think of most of the traumas in your life, it has to do in relationship to someone or something. And if we really go upstream, you know that I'm right about this. Most relationship issues are really about self-worth issues. More on that in a moment. That brings us to our topic, which is one of the greatest threats to our secure relationship. And so tell me if this lands or resonates with you. Type in the chat if this is landing for you. But if you've ever been in kind of, or maybe even too embarrassed to say that your relationship is in a should I stay or go situation, or you're finding yourself really anxious, attached, constantly attracting the same type of partner, no matter who they are. It's the same story. You can even get a divorce. The next person that you're with, holy shit, it's the same thing. And you're the type of person, might not be you, but the most people who follow me are the ones that are sick and tired of rehashing their story at a therapist's office and playing the victim role. And they, even though they can acknowledge they've been hurt, they're just tired of blaming the other person for all their woes because it's not getting them anywhere. And quite frankly, you're tired of telling your story of suffering, and you actually wanting to stop just having your story validated at a therapist's office, and you're ready to actually do something about it, is to create a different outcome rather than just get validated. What I notice most of the time is people who come to see me have already gone the counseling and the therapy route, and I'm glad, because it shows that you have a keen desire to solve this problem. It's about healing rather than just having your story validated, which I would say 80% just want validation. They don't actually want resolution. And so the people who end up on my algorithm, if you're listening, it's because you are one of those people who can acknowledge that you've had pain and betrayal and wounding within a relationship dynamic, but you're tired of rehashing the story, and you're like, I want something that actually helps to resolve the problem. And how do you know you've resolved the problem? When you feel complete with the past and you want to get to a place where you're now setting the foundation so that you can be a container for a secure relationship to thrive. And you can't have your victim story about your past and have a secure relationship. The two, it's like, it's completely binary. You either, poor me, I'm blaming the other person. And by the way, if you want to know, FYI, I get this question a lot. Why is it that I keep attracting narcissists? Why do I keep attracting the same type of person? Here's why, is because if you're showing up as the wounded victim when you're dating and you're talking about your narcissistic ex, what happens is the damsel in distress that's constantly looking for a rescuer attracts the hero god complex, which is kind of that kind of caters to the narcissistic trait type of person. So unwittingly, by holding on to your resentment and your poor me story about your past, you're attracting a rescuer type, which rescuers all kind of have like a hero god complex that tend towards being in that narcissistic category. So all of this to say, the people that do reach out to me and DM me and are ready to actually heal are the ones that are like, listen, I can acknowledge that what happened was not okay. I feel very hurt, but I'm done with being the victim. I'm ready to actually own my own power. I'm ready to stop giving it away. I keep repeating this cycle and I'm tired of it. Or I'm in this should I stay or go situation, and I love my partner, but we just can't resolve this conflict. Like the way we do conflict is devastating, and it's impacting your children. And so this is for you if you're really like wanting to learn how to resolve conflict, how to be the source of being the secure partner that you're wanting outside. You're wanting to be that for yourself. And this is definitely for you. You want more fulfillment, not by outsourcing self-worth externally, but by learning how to resource it internally. And if you aren't there yet, I just want you to know something. It's not your fault. It's not your fault because you didn't learn how to become trigger proof. You didn't learn how to regulate your nervous system. And you have, in all likelihood, created a culture, a conditioning, a identity based on self-betrayal. Let me say that again. The root cause is you have learned and been conditioned to betray yourself for love. And that's what the root cause is. That's the greatest threat, is conditioned self-betrayal. And so what that looks like basically is constantly hiding. How does it show up? Well, it's hiding how you really feel. For example, it shows up in different behaviors, hiding how you really feel so that you don't rock the boat. It's kind of like walking on eggshells. Basically dropping your boundaries or not really knowing how to have them, because as a child, whenever you exerted boundaries, you were punished for it. So in order to make sure that you maintain the attachment, you will betray yourself by dropping these boundaries, right? Just so that you can be liked. Type in the chat if any of these resonate with you. You are dismissing your own beliefs in order to gain acceptance. You're aligning with another person's belief, dismissing your own just because you want to gain acceptance. If you've ever done that, that's what self-betrayal in a relationship looks like. And if you're doing that, that's not your fault. It's the conditioning. Again, it's absolutely the conditioning. As well is if you've ever engaged in behavior that's not in alignment with your values in order to maintain a relationship. A lot of our students in our academy talk about how they start drinking when it's not aligned, or they start even doing drugs because they just are so afraid of not being liked, right? Or they take on a completely different lifestyle because they just want to be liked. And that's not your fault. It's a lack of self-worth that causes us to betray ourselves. And tell me if this lands for you, is when you prioritize somebody else's needs more than your own in order to gain validation and approval. So type in the chat if any of those land for you. But these are just examples. There are millions of ways saying yes, millions of ways we self-betray, saying yes when you mean no, okay? Not sharing your feelings as a woman, not feeling worthy enough of sharing your feelings, just not wanting to rock the boat, right? Or just withholding the truth or putting on a mask in order to pretend. People pleasing is another form of self-betrayal. And these are all trauma responses. These are all strategies that the childlike parts of us use in order to maintain connection. It gets us connected. It gets us love. It gets us maybe some validation as a child with our caregivers. But unfortunately, what happens is we get into intimate partnerships, and then it shows up like people saying to me, like, I've been people pleasing all my life to the point where I don't even know who the heck I am, right? And then we get into marriages and we don't share our needs, our desires, and then all of a sudden we wonder why, 10 years in, 5 years in, we're miserable. And there's a toxic mess in the home, and the home doesn't feel like a sanctuary. It feels like a battlefield. And the children now are feeling the impact of it constantly. And just speaking to one of the participants at our overview experience from last month, was that there was so much conflict within the household that the child, who's now 5 years old, is now adopting the exact same patterns that this couple promised themselves when they first got married from a traumatic experience, both in their childhoods. They said, we promise that I never want it to be like my household was. And here they are becoming it. With all the right intentions, without the deep inner work, then we're bound to repeat those cycles. And it's not your fault. It's because you haven't learned how to become trigger proof. You haven't learned the art of self-worth and how to actually take conflict and turn it into deeper intimacy. Because once you learn how to do that, you can take any conflict and you know you can repair, because conflict as a child meant complete dissociation, which is why you withhold the truth, because you don't have the self-worth and the confidence in yourself to be able to repair. But once you learn how to master the art of repair and how to become trigger-proof and turn your triggers into deeper self-love and turn all of your conflicts into actually deeper intimacy, you no longer fear conflict. You will speak your truth. And this is the secret to secure relationships. Not getting this right and self-abandoning, self-betraying is the greatest threat to our relationships. And here's the problem. No amount of therapy and cognitively studying it or reading books stops us in the moment of activation, which is a body-based experience, that we react this way by fawning, by people-pleasing, by reacting, by fighting. These fight, flight, freeze, fawn are trauma responses we adopted in childhood, and you can't think your way out of them. You must learn how to regulate that system and how to expand your capacity to be with those sensations, and how to self-soothe rather than outsourcing your soothing externally. And then once you've learned how to integrate all of these activations that come up, which is not part of your training in school, believe me, it wasn't for me. That's why I was so reactive in my last relationship. I had to learn the skills of becoming trigger-proof and turning conflict into deeper intimacy. And then once you've done that, you can actually communicate in a polarized way using masculine communication, which is devotional leadership-based, or feminine communication, which is more respectful than judgmental. Because every woman that I've ever worked with deeply wants to feel cherished, seen, understood, and felt protected. But she can't feel protected by him or the masculine. It's not gender-based. I do have same-sex couples that we work with. Masculine, feminine in polarity, so it's not gender-based. The masculine definitely wants to protect, but he can't protect his woman if he's using that protection to protect himself from all the judgments, those feelings laced with judgment, right? So this is not your fault if you haven't learned. It's not your fault. It's not because you're a bad person. It's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of the work we do is unshaming this, because people think, oh, I should have known this. No, you shouldn't. If you've never taken the time to open up your schedule and learn these things, then you shouldn't know this. But the good news is you can, if this is very important to you, to transform it. Because once you learn how to transform it, you do not have to hide what you really feel. You do not have to drop your boundaries. You can actually transform it so that as a man, your woman will show up respectful for you. And as a woman, your man will show up devotional. He'll want to protect. He'll want to provide. You'll why? Because you're able to take conflicts and take ownership for what's happening on your side of the street and repair, because you're no longer betraying yourself. You don't have to step over your boundaries. You can actually communicate what they are. And when an argument happens, you both trust one another, right? I know the most people that I talk to, they want to feel a sense of trust with one another. And that's why at the overview experience, I don't do couples counseling. I teach people who are stuck in should I stay or go scenarios, or who find themselves constantly in trauma bonds, or they've gone through a breakup and they realize, oh shit, I don't want to go through this again. I want to have confidence in my relationship so that I can magnetize a higher level person, because I want my status to go up with my self-worth. You're only attracting the level of your own self-worth. And especially if you're going through a breakup where your self-worth is taking a hit, this is critical for you to do the necessary internal work to upgrade your self-worth so that you could magnetize somebody at a higher level, because your status has gone up. Because why? You are able to self-regulate, take responsibility, and as a man, lead your woman into her feelings and not be led by her feelings. And as a woman, you're able to express them and feel cared for, which is what deep down most of the women that I've ever spoken to, they desire more than anything. But they don't have access to that when we are living in the world of self-betrayal and self-abandonment. So if you're really wanting to learn how to upgrade your self-worth, to take self-betrayal and learn how to take that and turn it into self-trust, self-betrayal to self-trust, to decondition that and to see where the root cause of the root cause is, and to learn how to master the conflict and repair cycle so that you can have confidence in your relationships and show up more secure. Those are the people that I absolutely love to teach. And I would love to see you. We have 10 spots at the overview experience, and to jump in and learn how to be that one who's ready to let go of the story, to take ownership, to upgrade their status, to elevate the self-worth, and to repair so that you can break the cycle and not have your kids observe that and replay these codependent dynamics and trauma bonded situations. It's possible if you're willing to open up the space to learn. And the cool part about the overview experience, those of you that are coming, we have 10 spots that I open up for the public. It's mainly for my community. And I take you through your biggest conflict and we dissect it. And we take every trigger, we take a trigger and we dissect it into 6 hours, and I show you exactly what's happening in the nervous system, exactly the parts of you that are activated, and how to take self-betrayal and self-abandonment and turn it into self-love. Tell me what has come up for you in this conversation. Has this been helpful? Can you relate? Any questions that you have, let me know. And if you're ready to dance, send me a DM. Tell me your story, what's gone on in the background. And if you're ready to rock and roll, the first 5 people that jump in, they get a one-to-one call integration with me after the overview experience. Absolutely free, so that I could really help you make sense of that experience you just had, and to answer any questions and kind of pave the path for you, create that vision for you and the plan for you moving forward, so that you can embody this work, become more secure in your relationships because you trust yourself. You're no longer betraying yourself. See you at the next perfect time. Make sure you subscribe.